Favorite penciler, favorite inker? I guess first off, can you hear me? Wiley J Draws, can you hear me? This is the first time I've ever done a YouTube live, so I'm kind of testing the waters. The favorite penciler inker thing for me is it's kind of a cop out, but I can rarely ever nail it down to one because at any given time I can like somebody so much and then somebody else comes along. It's like asking me what's my favorite movie. At one moment it could be this and then it's this and then it's this. But I'd say I might have to say Adam Hughes might be my favorite penciler, inker. Like he just does his own work. I think he can draw anything perfectly and amazing. Like he's just the best. But then Mark Silvestri, Travis Charest, those guys all are just amongst the best. Any newer comics? Honestly, not really. There's very little that is new comics that the question is any new comics that I've been reading. I don't find anything new interesting anymore. I've tried and just I there's nothing new that really grabs me. The only comic I have on my pull list at my local comic shop anymore is Savage Dragon by Eric Larson from Image Comics because I've been collecting that from day one and I've got every issue. Um, it's not quite as interesting as it used to be, and I occasionally flirt with wanting to give it up because it's just not as interesting anymore. It still has moments, but it's just not nearly as good as it used to be. But I also kind of don't want to break my streak, which is a dumb reason to collect a comic. But new stuff doesn't really excite me. But there's been some independent stuff I've been picking up, some Kickstarters I've supported, and things like that. Who is drawing the new Conan book? Ah, that's interesting. I'll have to look that up. Honestly, the only thing that makes me pick up a comic book anymore is the creative team and um, oh, there you go. There's the answer. I'll have to look that up. You got me kind of interested. Speaking of Simon Bisley, one of my viewers on YouTube sent me these books. I've never read them, so I'm going to be reading them and doing a review on them for the first time ever. They're brand new to me, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, it's got to be the artist or the creative team, and honestly, it's not the writer; it's the artist on a book that would make me pick it up. And so many of my favorite artists that I really want to see are not drawing anything anymore. You know, I want to see Todd McFarlane draw a book. God, can you imagine the numbers he would sell if he did a Spawn Spider-Man crossover that he drew? Man, I would be there in a minute for that. Jim Lee draws, but I don't care for DC Comics or Batman too much. I mean, I like Batman as a character, but just the comics don't interest me. Silvestri's recent Batman book was pretty good, but my local comic shop screwed that up and kept skipping issues. So I've got every other one. So I don't even have the whole story. So that kind of ruined it for me. Liefeld never stops drawing. And unfortunately, I think everything new he does is terrible. I'll read anything Adam Hughes does. If J. Scott Campbell would draw a book again, I would pick that up in a second. If Joe Madureira would draw a book again, especially Battle Chaser, for God's sake, not this other guy that did the current book, which looks good, but he's not Joe Madureira. So that's frustrating. I couldn't speak to the new Batman stories. You're probably right. I don't read them. I 100% was only picking up the new one for Silvestri's work. I like Batman as a character, the concept, the idea, but I never read the comics really. So if it's kind of like an out of continuity thing where I don't have to know all the current continuity, it's just the Batman concept, kind of like the Silvestri one, that's more interesting to me. I love Batman, like the movies and stuff like that. I love the Batman concept, but I don't read DC Comics that much. So I couldn't say, but you're probably right. Oh, damn, from 81 to 2006. That's a hell of a run. It's kind of like I was saying with that Savage Dragon. I've been collecting it since, I don't know, when did Image Comics start? 91 or 92? And I've been collecting it nonstop ever since. And that used to be my most favorite book ever. And I can't bring myself to cancel it. It's just not as good as it used to be. But yeah, having a long run. I wish Travis Charest, I wish he would draw a book again, more than just a couple of pages. I used to love Brian Hitch when he was on The Ultimates. I don't know what he's doing anymore. Fire and Ice. That's that. What is it? That heavy metal? Wasn't that like that animated movie back in the day? Is that the one that we're talking about, Fire and Ice? I've only seen it like one time, and I don't know if I understood the hype around it. I didn't get it. It was a little too weird for me. But again, I was very young. Paul Smith on X-Men was great. Yeah, the rotoscope. Is it Ralph Bakshi? Am I remembering correctly? And speaking of Paul Smith on X-Men, one of my favorite runs, I've had this collection from the Ashes Claremont with Paul Smith. I didn't know much about the X-Men and their old school stuff at the time when I got this, and I just read this to death over and over as a kid, and I thought they were great stories. And it wasn't until a long time later I understood that it was Paul Smith on most of this. There's some John Romita Jr. in there, but he's really good. He had a really good run on the book. Who's drawing that Fire and Ice book? Did you? I'm sorry, you said the writer. Who's the artist on that? Depending on who that is, that might be something for me to look out for. God, I don't know who that is. God, I'm so out of touch. Maybe that's part of the problem. I got to go like looking for some good artists. I've said this recently in a lot of my videos on my channel. Like there's just no artists out there that are just exciting or dynamic or different. You know, I want to see something like those guys that did the Image comics. Like for as much as the books may not have been really that great, but that excitement of the art at the time, or where's the new Bill Sienkiewicz or Art Adams or anything like that, or somebody like McFarlane just doing something so wildly different. I just feel like everything has like a same vibe to it, and it's boring. And I say that maybe my shit looks boring too, so what do I know? But yeah, I hear you, Wiley J. Draws. You go into a comic shop a month or so ago looking for something cool and didn't buy a single one. I remember walking to a comic shop back in the, early 90s when they were a little bit less expensive. I could walk in with 20 bucks and walk out with a pile of books I couldn't wait to read. Everything was just so exciting and awesome. And I go in there and I just start looking for stuff too. I start looking at the shelves and I end up buying collections of shit I've already got, except maybe I've got them in singles, but here's a trade with some back matter that I'd have never owned. Or I start flipping through the old comics bin, but I look across the shelves at the new books and just nothing. I guess that's why I've backed like 4 different Kickstarters in the last 2 months. And I'm like, this looks interesting, or I hope that this looks interesting. I hope that they turn out good. Just want something new. One of my favorite new comics, this one right here, Beyond the Void, Saul Haberfield. Look that guy up. I swear, I love this book. He's got 2 issues. This is issue 2. I can't recommend that enough. Something that feels similar, but it's got a spin on a contemporary spin on an old vibe. I love it. If you want that one, I recommend. A comic page had Thor, Thanos, and Doctor Doom in the same room, but it was the most boring fight ever. Isn't that unfortunate? I know if for those of you who watch my channel, I rip on a Rob Liefeld, but can you imagine Liefeld drawing that? They would at least be visually interesting. Like, I know I give that guy a lot of crap, but it would at least be something that would make you look at it. It'd rather, even if it's bad, but it's interesting, that's better than competently drawn but boring. Yeah, I agree that the color, some coloring can look perfectly great, but it can hide the artist's work. I agree. Yeah, Death of Power. I'm sorry, Mr. J Ultra. The second volume. As soon as they did their first video on that, I went and bought a copy, and then as soon as he put out his Kickstarter, I backed it, and I got my digital copy in the email today. And if you watch that video, there was a part where they could not show the page. Holy Lord, they were not kidding. It was incredible what Kurt Burdick decided to do. Um, in that spread that they cartoonist kayfabe would not show on camera. They were not kidding. And Wiley J. Joe, you say you bought a box of 100 old comics for $50. It's Star Wars #1 and spectacular. That's awesome, man. One of my best friends, she told me that their landlords for the house that they're renting left a box of comics on the top shelf in the garage, and I'm like, so yeah, when can I come over and get that? I want just a random box of old comics. I don't know what's in there, like what magical treasures are in there, but she wants to keep them, so I'm waiting on her to tell me what the hell was in it. It's a bummer when a book isn't a good reading experience. Like, it's one thing if the art's okay, but then you're like, I didn't get anything out of it. Got this whole. Yeah, I'm drawing Trap Jaw, or at least my version of him from my comic series. I've kind of, for my, you know, um, my very unofficial fan comic and all the characters, I've kind of altered all their designs to be my own. Um, so they're kind of not exactly the old versions that they used to be, and that's kind of the point. Up to and including, he's got a robotic arm. Well, he always did, but it's like, like Cable or the Winter Soldier. But this thing can transform into the devices that he needs, rather than him disconnecting it by hand and strapping on a different one and carrying them on his belt or something like that. I wanted to, like, up his technological abilities, because he's almost basically a good guy in my book now. Yeah, redesigning costumes can be fun, but it can be tricky too. Yeah, G.I. Joe, as dumb as it sounds, I wasn't allowed to watch as a kid because my mom was super religious and she wouldn't let me watch a cartoon about war, which apparently G.I. Joe is about war in her mind. But she let me watch He-Man, where, like, the villains have, like, skull faces, and I could watch Thundercats, where, like, the main bad guy is literally a rotting corpse, or Transformers, where they're robots blowing each other away, but not G.I. Joe, because it's about war, and we can't have that. Yeah, SpongeBob. Yeah, I don't get it. Well, I want to thank all you guys for joining in. I do live streams on Instagram. I've been doing them for several weeks with one of my friends. And, like, no one shows up. Two or three, four people on occasion. And you're like, whatever. And so I just thought I'd randomly try one here. And I've had, like, up to 16 people watching at one time, and more conversation here than I ever get. I figured I might as well try it here because I've got a little bit of an audience with my YouTube channel. I've got 1,060 subscribers. So I'm like, why don't I try it over here and just to see what that goes like? And hadn't chosen anything to draw. I just sit down and just start drawing something, and more conversation and more people watching than ever before. So that's kind of awesome. Hey, for any of you that are listening, I've got a legitimate question. I would, if I, God, this would be really interesting if you guys could tell me. If you watch my YouTube channel, if that's why you know me and you follow me, like I go and I look up other guys that do the same thing, that do comic reviews like I do. You just sit the book down. Guys use more production value. They got music and they've got graphics, editing, and all this type of stuff. And like they get 24 views. They get 10 views. They get 30, 40, 50. Mine are on an average of anywhere from 200 to 300 up to 1,000. What the hell is it that you guys watch me for? Like, I feel like I sound like an obnoxious twat. I would really like to know if anybody has like, some kind of like, what is it about if you watch my YouTube channel? Why do you watch it? What do I bring that other people that I see doing the same thing are not getting, even with better production value? Because I just record and then upload it. I don't do any editing. You see. I'd really be curious if anyone's got any kind of like insight for me. I think part of it is like the material I bring, like these old 80s and 90s comics that were extremely popular. So I see you are relatable to me. That I like. That I appreciate. I've had one person tell me they felt like listening to my stuff is like just sitting down and talking to a friend about comics. And I was like, I like that. That's an interesting idea. Other comment here, your love of the art is what brings me to your channel and your videos. Well, thank you. That means a lot to me because, I've obviously been collecting and drawing for a long time, and I guess I can speak on some of this stuff. My exasperation. Some of the stuff that makes me most kind of like, makes me smile the most, is like I've had some people tell me like, I don't know, when I'm going on a rant about something or so, like one guy said that he's like at 3 a.m. he's watching my videos and he was laughing his butt off, like laughing in tears because of something that I said. And I'm like, I said something funny? Like I say stuff that's funny to me, but I don't think I've ever been the funny guy. So that kind of made me happy. Mooper said, at first I was interested in the books you were showing. That's fair. Brandon Duncan, as an artist of similar age with similar influence, I'm completely on the same page. I get that a lot. That I like. Like a lot of us, the analytics on my videos show that it's almost exclusively males and from in the same age range. So that's my audience. The sarcasm and supportive indie comics. I mean, yeah, like I said, like there's so little interesting out there anymore, and I would love to like. I've gotten a little bit of an audience, like I've said, so to be able to like showcase anybody's work, it's the kind of thing that I'm doing. The kind of thing that I wish somebody else would do for me in a way. If you've got an indie comic and you want me to show it, hook me up. I'm not asking for stuff for free, but I'm happy to like use my little bit of an audience and put it out there and put any kind of eyes on it if it helps anybody. Like, why not? Most of us are probably aspiring creators. I think there's a lot of that. I've run into several people that have said that they had drawn and haven't in a long time, and a couple of people said that they've actually picked up drawing from watching my videos and seeing me draw and talking about books, and that moves me. That makes me really happy to hear what somebody. I've had a couple of people say, I used to draw, but I didn't anymore. But watching your stuff has made me read comics again and made me start drawing again. That moves me a lot. Hey, Mooper San. Yeah, I can get you. Yeah, I do. I basically have a link on Instagram. I kind of use that as my contact. I'm a very poor social media person. I should put more contact information in there. If you don't use Instagram, I guess I can, let's see. I'm trying to think of how you can connect with me. Do you want to shoot me an email? If you don't use Instagram or Facebook, which I get, that's the easiest way most people contact me. Yeah, most of the crowdfunding crowd is fellow creators as well. I think so. I think crowdfunding is the future of comics, honestly. It's not Marvel or DC. Like, there's an audience out there. I mean, people are willing to pay. One of my buddies did a crowdfunding a couple of months ago for Metal Shade, $74,000 for a book that's based on like the love of 90s, like Extreme Studios comics. There's an audience out there. My Instagram is here, let me write these down, guys, right here. My Instagram is Norton12013. The 12013 is just spelling Rob with numbers. Or even just searching my name, Rob Norton, on Instagram. Or my email is ROBNOR101 at yahoo.com. So if that helps anybody. Eddie tries to draw. Is that you, buddy? Because I see my notifications blowing up here a little bit. I'm like, somebody joined, and that's awesome, dude. Thank you. I'm most easy to connect to on that, but I can do, either way. But yeah, guys, I appreciate, like, if you guys are interested in those fan comics, I mean, like, it means the world to me. I try not to, like, sit here and be like, hey, by the way, if you want to pick up my books, here's where you get them. I don't, I feel kind of awkward, like, even trying to put it out there that, hey, I'm doing my own stuff, and here, pick them up, please. But so anybody who's ever interested, like, it means the world to me. Ray Dillon, buddy, how you doing, man? You guys want to see some good artwork? Look at Ray Dillon. He does amazing work. His wife does amazing work. They've got incredible comics available. Man, check them out. Wiley J Draws. Do I watch any of the Power Comics channel? Never even heard of it. But I'm going to write that down for my own reference. If I try to remember it, I won't. Bad 80s small press comics. Now I have to look that up. I'll look that up. I'm curious. Crypto Comics. Is that the dude that would like wear the blue gloves and flip through the books? Yeah, what do I use to stream? Yeah, this just right here. This is just my phone. So yeah, I just use my phone for that. Yeah, the guy that wore the blue gloves and he had the thing where he'd write on his hand, doesn't he read word for word? I mean, doesn't he get out the book, plop it down, and read every bit of dialogue in voices? If that's the guy, I looked him up because I occasionally try to look up guys that do the same stuff I do. And if that's the guy I'm thinking of, I mean, not to dog on other creators, but like it was so annoying. I couldn't stand it. Like I appreciated what he was doing, and I don't know if he had a lot of success, but I couldn't listen. I had to shut it off. Lee Mackey asks, have I ever looked at Red Joker by Brian Azzarello and Lee Beam? I don't think so. I don't think I've heard. I've heard of Brian Azzarello, but I don't know about that book specifically. Yeah, man, with the phone, I've even actually dug out my old phone. I've had this in the cabinet for like a year now, and I'm like, I need to use this as a backup. But yeah, I've got this thing that it's mounted on. Let me I'll show you. Just this little arm. I got this from Amazon for like 30 bucks, and it just mounts onto here, and then I just hook it up and then just angle it, and then just turn it on and start recording. Yeah, if you mean Lee Bermejo, I think that's how you say the name. I think I've heard of it, maybe, but I don't think I've read it. In fact, I'm sure I haven't. Yeah, this $30 one works really well. This arm for 30 bucks, like it was worth it totally. I mean, that's what got me started. I've been thinking about doing a channel forever, and one of my friend Jessica, who goes live with me on Instagram, she kept telling me do videos for YouTube, do instructional videos and stuff like that. And I've been thinking about it for years, but buying this little arm is what got me ready, and then I just started going. Yeah, Bermejo, is that how you say his name? Am I saying it right? Bermejo. I've got Death Blow Batman by Bermejo to go through. I mean, who cares about Death Blow? But whenever it's that artist, it's worth looking at for sure. And then is it a Lex Luthor series he did? Yeah, I've kind of recently discovered, like, it's kind of realized to me just how many books I have every time I go out to my my storage shed outside. I've got a video coming up tomorrow where I did exactly that. I just went out to do some yard work, but I moved the lawnmower aside, and I moved the weed whacker aside and the rake, and I walk right to the back of the shed to all my long boxes. And I start digging through them for an hour, finding new shit. And then an hour later, I start doing the actual yard work. So hey Eddie, about you're talking about the arm thing. Are you thinking about doing like videos or recording or streaming or something like that? Shit. How many of you guys out there are creators and actually working on a comic book on your own of some type right now? Anybody? Try. Are you trying to work on a book, or is that what you mean, or are you referring to the question I asked? Brandon Duncan, you are? God, you know what? It's in my other room. Guys, bear with me. Give me 30 seconds. I got to run to my bedroom at the other end. Hold on 1 second. Oh, shit. Well, shit. Thanks, Brandon Duncan. It's hard for me to believe that I inspire anybody. I think if you follow me, I've mentioned this, but I got in my proof copy for book 5, but it's all fucked up. But this is at least what it's going to look like. For fans of old 90s era comics, you might recognize like the composition of this layout. If anybody kind of recognizes it, call it out. I'm kind of curious. Who publishes my book? Dude, no one publishes my book. It's just me. I just go through comic wellsprings and just print up my own copies and just kind of get them out to be. Yes, Wiley J. Draws, 100%, you know. Yeah, Ray, I saw your page 9 of Power Goblin. I think I saw you post that. Yeah, the thing that sucks, for those who maybe don't know, like front cover, back cover, I even recorded a video of me doing like an unboxing, which is the first time I'd ever done that. I was going through it, and I'm like, it's looking good. I was into it. It was looking great. But the problem is this book is 128 pages long, and right at the end of the book, they stopped at page 100. The story went to page 117, and then there was like a credits page and some pinups. They just didn't put it in here at all. So I was so excited to come home. I knew it was in my mailbox. I was excited. I'm recording a video of me opening this up, and it's just missing it's missing 28 pages. And so, man, I was so bummed out. So they're fixing it. I just talked to him today, and the corrected proof copy is supposed to be in the mail tomorrow. But at least I get to kind of see what it's going to look like. Hey, Ray Dillon, thanks, man. I mean, if there's anything cool about it, I got to give credit to Silvestri for the composition. Like, this was Ripclaw, Striker, Psyblade. I can't remember who was over here. Impact, the big strong guy was in the back, but Strong Arm's not that big. Yeah, Comic Wellsprings, I got to give it to them. Every book that I've done has been printed through them, and they've always got it perfect, or if there was ever any error in the proof copies, they fixed it right away. You know, I've never had a problem. So, yeah, I do recommend them. You know, that's 1, book 2, 3, and then books 1, 2, and 3 are all one story, and then books 4 and 5, and then eventually 6 are kind of like their own individual story, but they're all going to link together. I mean, it's pretty good stuff. I mean, you know, it works for me. I haven't done this enough to really speak to it. You want to see a book that's put together really, really well? Look at that Peter Pan book that I reviewed by Ray Dillon and his wife, Renee. Ray, I don't know if you're still listening, brother. I'm still in shock at how beautiful that book was. Like I wasn't joking when I said in the video, it was like the most beautiful book I've ever put my hands on. But, yeah. Yeah, dude, Ray, I'm not trying to kiss ass at all. I swear to God, like, you guys nailed it so good. Anybody recognize that composition specifically right there? I ripped that off from another famous scene from a famous 90s book. I'm curious if anybody recognizes that. Yeah, Ray, man, no problem, dude. I'd love to talk to you guys about it if we ever get a chance to live stream together. That'd be kind of a fun thing. How regularly do I draw, and how long does an average page take me? I draw almost daily. Or if I'm not drawing, I'm doing something involved in the creative process. If I'm taking pages to FedEx to get them scanned, or getting stuff in the mail, or I'm on the computer doing lettering or cleaning up or stuff like that. El Yucca? Yes, do you remember the characters? Yeah, a couple of you know. That's awesome. I love this back cover. Just in that a girl that I know referenced, she was the art model for me. She was the art model for this figure here, and was the art model for the opening pages of this character here, and all the pictures of the character here. This girl I know, she art modeled for me, and that was super fun to do. Like this shot here, and she did the same in this book. There's a chapter in here where she did some art modeling for me in this chapter here. Anyway, somebody was asking, how long does it take me to, how regularly do I draw? Basically every day. And how long does a page take me? I did kind of a video on this a little bit where I talk about my process. I lay everything out. I write out the story on paper, like the basic plot, and then I do thumbnails like this and work out the individual panels and the storytelling like this. This is what takes the most time. And then when I get to the point where I actually draw the page, it actually goes relatively quickly because I just now have to draw what I've already figured out. And I've got piles of these things. Like, I make these in vast quantities. I work out my comic book, like the one I just did here. This thing is it's 117 pages of story. It was all worked out on things like this. And so it speeds up the process for me. I don't just sit down to a blank page and just start going. I have to have it all worked out, which I think is kind of the norm. And yes, Wiley J. Draws, you're saying lots of blacks. Dude, I love black and white artwork. But heavy shadows and, I'm kind of, I don't know. I feel kind of like embarrassed showing my stuff. I'm okay. But that's the stuff I like to see. Brandon Duncan, that's awesome of you to say, man. Even though I only had one He-Man and G.I. Joe in my region, I was moved by your Masters comic, unlike the new Conan #1. Yeah, I've still got copies of these. Not this one yet, but all the others. Thanks, Chris M. I appreciate that a lot, man. Thank you. What's one thing I struggle or dislike drawing? Like, as far as what do I don't like drawing? Everyone says cars and planes and vehicles and 100%. I hate that because I'm no good and they're so hard. And that's why I'm drawing a sword and sorcery fantasy fan comic where there's no cars, there's vehicles, but those are still hard. Those are so difficult. But yeah. And doing a panel where, this is where I struggle. Like if you got a panel and then you have to do your perspective and put buildings and everything in there, and figuring out those perspectives, and then figuring out how to stand your character in that space and make them look like they're standing on the correct plane, I struggle with that. Animals and mech is always the answer. For real, dude. I love drawing animals, but I have to have reference, and I think that's most people, man. Who can draw a lion just out of their head unless you've done it 1,000 times? But for real, animals and mech. I find I like drawing some technology, like Trapjaw here. I've kind of developed a visual shorthand. I don't even need to show this. I like getting shiny metallic looks. Yeah, furry art. No, I don't need no furry. You know what I like drawing? How about naked girls? Like the shiny metallic look on Trapjaw there. I like doing that type of stuff. I found a way that kind of works for me to do shiny metallic stuff. It's an interesting shorthand to get some visual stuff across. I was kind of like that shot of Trapjaw's face. You know, it was fun to draw, but hard as hell is the Voltron sequence. We cultured men like our women naked and metallic. You are my people. I loved like the idea of this Voltron scene, but drawing these like giant mechs. Oh gosh, so it's such a pain in the butt because you can't really rush through it. And I'm not saying I did good. I did the best that I could do at the time. Ink splatter is always fun. Dry brush texture is a lot of fun. I kind of liked that face on that girl and doing splatter effects for candles. This is one of my favorite shots. I love this shot of Snake Mountain with that like the mist at the bottom. I had a lot of fun with this where this character is going to visit Snake Mountain. So they're standing on this precipice and there's this foggy underground. Like you never know what's on the ground below it. But the Snake Mountain in the distance like that. I tried to make it ominous, like a Lord of the Rings kind of thing. You know, a character standing and looking at this scary thing in the distance. I had a lot of fun with that. And then yeah, Mr. J Ultra. I didn't know the names James Rays, but the box office artist, the detailed Transformer art, dude, you are not kidding. I've watched some of his videos, just like time lapses of him doing that stuff. It's the best version of that stuff I've ever seen. For real. It's the best version of Transformers, I think. Yeah, you are very, very correct on that one. So, yeah. I just wish that my book 5 came through complete, you know. I know I'll get it. And I tried to take a bunch of characters in the He-Man world that were really stupid. Like this is Strong Arm, for anybody who knows the Masters of the Universe. He was in one episode. And he was kind of a dork, and he looks kind of stupid, but he also looks kind of over the top awesome with like this metallic face and these spiky helmet things in his ears and one giant right arm. Of course, his name is Strong Arm. So I took him and kind of made him the strong guy of the group. I scaled him up a little bit to make him bigger and stronger. And he's kind of become one of my favorite characters. I like drawing that weird organic techno whatever is holding her little magic crystal there. Let's see. I changed She-Ra's outfit again. I keep trying to redesign it into something I like. I don't like her cartoon version too much. Kind of like that shot of Trapjaw's head. Again, getting that shiny metallic look. Yeah, Mr. J Ultra. Yeah, that's what I've done. I mean, one of my main characters in this book is, if for again, who anybody who knows the Masters of the Universe characters, I took Fisto of all characters, and he's kind of become the main character of the book. And I think when you see his arc through the end of my next book, he's like the hero of everything. Trapjaw, he was obviously a major character, but I took him, and this whole dialogue on this page I wrote specifically to give him some insight into his past, his history. He's talking about his memories of his father and how he led to a life of crime, and he's living in a nightmare, and he just wants to wake up, but he won't. And I don't know if a lot of people like what I've done with Trapjaw, but to me, the idea of taking a villain, giving him a reason to turn around, or a joke character, like this is Jitsu. He's another guy that was only ever in the book the cartoon one time, and they never even referred to him by name. Never once. Yeah, I just took them and kind of adopted them and made them my own. And that's why I'm having so much fun with them. Even though strong arm can look weird because he has one giant right arm, but that's the gag, so you got to run with it, right? Even there's another shot of him busted into this room. Got to have that big giant room with lots of heavy shadows. Kind of like that shot. Again, I ended up liking drawing Trapjaw a lot. Trapjaw and... So, Wiley J draws. Kind of. Yeah, Orko. It's Orko. He's not in the book too much because he is kind of a silly guy. But the few moments that he has some respectable moments and at least one badass moment. So he's in there a little bit. 100%. And this shot right here, this is Tila taking the role of the sorceress. I straight up lifted that. I have to disconnect. But I stole it from kind of that right there from Mignola. I've got these images on my wall as inspiration. That's my own artwork that somebody colored, but Drew Struzan, Adam Hughes, that's my work up there. Mignola, Adam Hughes, Adam Hughes, Adam Hughes. And then I was playing Red Dead Redemption, and so I drew a cowboy on a horse because I was loving the hell out of that. So that's what that is. The Dolph Lundgren movie was kind of terrible, but it's also kind of aged to be kind of awesome at how terrible it was. They missed the mark so bad, and they were a couple years too late. Like, the popularity had died by that point. Sam Keith. I think I looked at Darker Image #1. I definitely need to, I've got the Marvel Comics Presents stuff out. Sometimes I have things with artists that I want to do, but I kind of stop because it's sometimes like Cartoonist Kayfabe has already covered it. And I'm like, God, they just did it. You know, like I was going to do Ash by Joe Quesada. And I'm like, then they just did it. So I'm like, well, not that I'm even in the same, you know, it's not the same at all. But sometimes I'm like, well, I should do something else. Let me tell you what I was going to do a review on. I mean, I'm going to, but I don't have the Max Batman, though. I should find that. But I was going to say, you know what's a hard book to review? Is I got this, Milk and Cheese. For anybody who read these are funny as hell. But everything is drawn in such like a small kind of... It's only entertaining if you can kind of read it. And what do I do? Read all the jokes? Like, I don't think that works. But these books were hilarious. And they're so... But I'm like, I was reading this. I'm like, how do I present this besides saying, hey, they're awesome, seek them out? I don't read much manga. I don't know where to start. And I find a lot of times the stories are a little weirder for my taste, but I don't know. I did a review on the Return of the Jedi manga. That's on my channel, which art-wise was just mind-blowing. I couldn't believe it, how good that stuff was, but I don't. So I don't know where to start with manga, so I don't know what to do. Lamac, thank you. Don't downplay myself. I mean, I try. I guess that's the best I can do. I'm never going to be the best artist. So what I kind of hinge what people might be interested in is, even though I'm not the best artist, or, you know, I don't have the design sense of some others, I hope that the story that I'm writing is something that people will enjoy. Like, you don't get to see this anywhere, so this version of these characters and where I'm taking the story, I think people will enjoy it. It's going to do things that people are not expecting, so I'm anxious for people to read these things and tell me what they think of the story in the end. That's kind of what I think I have to offer. If I have anything to offer, is again, I may not be the best artist, but maybe the story I'm telling you is interesting. Um, a Wolverine manga called Snicked. Holy shit, just that title alone sounds interesting. Yeah, see a Max Batman crossover you didn't know it existed. It, I'm aware of it, but I never saw it. So yeah, I need to check that out. Yeah, samurai manga, but the rest I don't get it at all. And there's so much stuff where it's just like romance stuff. Um, which I mean, okay, you know. I know the stuff that I think I would like. I also don't watch a lot of anime, but when I saw Ghost in the Shell, like that animated movie, holy shit! Everything else by comparison was left in the dust. And Ninja Scroll, watching that movie with the violence and the sex, I'm like, everything else I've ever watched, I can't watch any animated stuff. My brothers are always like, hey, watch this Batman animated movie that DC put out. And I try, I'm like, it's not as good. It's just I've been ruined by the animation style of those animes. And I don't watch a lot of it, but those few that I've seen, the Ghost in the Shell, the Ninja Scroll, the movement, the drama, the sound, it's all. Everything else is just left in the dust. I've heard of Blade of the Immortal, and Joe Mad was totally influenced by manga, of course. Black Sad anthropomorphic cat detective story. That just sounds interesting in and of itself. Like you may have just sold me on it. I was saying recently to somebody about it's also weird how certain artists just grab your attention in a way that you wouldn't think. Um, like, I was all about the Jim Lees and the Mark Silvestris, and then suddenly out comes this book called League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, written by Alan Moore and Kevin O'Neill. I had no idea who that was. No idea. And looking at his artwork from it doesn't look like anything I would like, but holy God, was that some of the greatest stuff I'd ever seen. You know, the story by Alan Moore kept the interest to start, but Kevin O'Neill, like for example, it's so weird what grabs your attention when the stuff that you like so much one way, and then you find something completely opposite, and you're like, that's awesome.
Power on.
I'm gonna have to look up that Black Sad now. You guys got me thinking about it. 80s anime, yeah. Chuck Lee, do you mean to say I'm drawing live finally? Um, if that's what you mean, I was mentioning earlier, I've been doing this on Instagram for several weeks, but no one watches. And I'm like, why don't I do it live on YouTube? That's where my audience is. And so um, maybe I'm just kind of dumb. Oh, Mr. J Ultra, dude, you are so right. Tom Strong is one of my favorite books. I can't wait to. I need to do. I might cover every damn one of those books. Tom Strong #1 is maybe the best first issue of a comic ever. In my mind, to me, as far as an issue one, yeah, that is so good, and no one talks about it. No one talks about Tom Strong. So good. Looking at some of these other suggestions, Bubblegum Crisis, Writing Bean, Golf Force. It's so there's so much out there. Where do I even start, right? Me and my silly little drawing here. Speaking of inking, if you follow me, a bunch of you showed up for that Dan Green that passed away recently. Man, that makes me sad. That guy was so good. His work was so excellent. Yeah, I showed I've got 16 16, 15, 16 viewers watching, and it shows 12 likes on my thing here, so which is more than I ever get anything on in Instagram. And I'm not here like, I mean, like I don't care. It's not about the likes or anything like that. For me, it's kind of humbling that anybody wants to listen to any damn thing I have to say or look at any of my artwork. I know I'm not trying to sound like overly humble or something like that, but for real, I've always kind of been a shy introvert, and that anybody looks at anything that I do, I still am kind of blown away. And I'm actually considering the possibility, if my channel keeps growing like it is, I might even get to the point where I could even monetize it and get a few bucks coming in, which I'm not going to lie. I'm not in this for the money, because that's not what it's about. But God, just a few extra bucks to supplement things, and I could spend that money to buy books that I've never read and bring to the channel. Maybe even hire an editor to edit some videos to make them look a little bit more interesting. But on the flip side, I kind of like just doing my random, like, just video it, send it up, and just go. Blue Sky Expo. Hey, thanks, man. I mean, I just tell my opinion on stuff, and I've actually reached a point where I get some people chiming in specifically on like the Liefeld videos, and they're like telling me I'm just jealous and I'm a sad loser, and what have I ever done to help the comics industry was my most recent one. Some guy was like, "You just sound like you're jealous. What have you done to support the industry?" Yeah, so Chuck Lee, yeah, Dan Green was one of the classics. I went over it. I already did that video, but just his ink work is just unbelievable to me. And I gotta have the book right side up. But hell, I flipped it open to like one of my favorite pictures of Wolverine. It's so good. He's so good. I try to incorporate this into my work, and I fail. Yeah, I have a day job. I work at Home Depot. So I got a day job, I'm single, I got divorced, so I get my kids on every other weekend and that type of stuff. So I have a lot of time outside of my regular job to dedicate to drawing, so that's why I can do so much stuff. So, yeah, that's my day job. Mr. J Ultra, the simplistic approach is so much more interesting. I also think that some people are like, you should do more editing, you should put some music in there. I'm like, I don't know. What I'm doing is kind of working. I sit down, I just streaming consciousness, just yap about what I remember, what I think, what I feel. And then I'll usually like watch them once just to make sure I didn't goof up something. And then I listen to myself like sniffling or clearing my throat, and I'm like, God, I sound annoying. I hate this. I wonder if people hate this from me. But I just kind of like to see, yeah. Do more live drawing and recorded. Like, I want to do more of that. I really enjoy. I like doing time lapses. It's funny how you can sit here for I could sit here for an hour and a half and do a time lapse, and it just pares it down to 30 seconds. And like, oh, there it is. But yeah, I've seen a lot of guys that try to do the same type of stuff I do on my channel, where they have all this editing. It starts out and they get this like flashy intro and all these graphics and all this nonsense, and it like takes 2 minutes to get to where they actually start going, and I hate that shit. Like, you're not wowing me with your editing nonsense. Like, get to the point or I'm gone. And yeah. El Yuck, I'm so glad somebody brought that up. It was a little bit of an exaggeration. I kind of scared my boys for a minute. But for those who don't know, I was doing a video with my brother. We were talking, and my children were in the living room playing video games, just laughing and having a great time. But they were being a little loud. So for those of you who don't know, it was kind of a riff on an episode of Firefly. Anybody, for those of you who remember that episode, there was a part where Malcolm Reynolds was talking to Inara, and the others were playing down below, and he's like saying something kind of sweet, and he turns to them after saying something really sweet about his crew. Then he yells down at him to shut up. And so that's exactly what I did to my kids. I just yelled at them to shut up. And my brother was laughing his ass off because he was videoing with me. But anyway, that's just that random thing. My boys were kind of scared. They're like, they thought they did something wrong. I'm like, no, it's okay. Just keep it down, boys. I love you. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they went back to being just as loud as they always were. So it didn't really solve anything. But it made for a funny moment on the video. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, I just finished. I've got this image of gargoyles. For those who know the gargoyles, I've had this single piece here that I had a guy color for me. And man, this shit sells at the conventions that I do. There is a huge gargoyles fan base out there. Holy shit, do they love their stuff. And I've had everyone at the convention say that they never find gargoyles stuff anywhere. So I leaned into that. I was doing sketches of them, would sell out. And so I did this pinup, sold out of every one. I had 10 of them, sold out the first day. I had to go back to the FedEx shop, print up 10 more, sold out of every one. So I've done like pieces to flank each side of this. I just literally finished these tonight. I added in this background to match. I had to like match the backgrounds here like that so my colorist could work them. But yeah, for people who know the gargoyles, that was a great cartoon. And there's a fan base for that stuff in a big way. So I'm hoping at my next convention here in about 4 weeks. I only do the ones, I don't travel for them. They're just, they started doing one here several years ago in Salt Lake City that has blown up to be really big. And so I go every year. They were doing them twice a year for a little while, but now they're just down to once a year. So that's the only one I go to. I don't make enough money at them to justify traveling and finding some place to stay and a table fee. Like, I'm not that cool, and I don't have that kind of disposable income to waste to travel. And it's kind of hard with the job. And when I had kids, I have kids, but when I was married, I couldn't do it. I guess I could probably do it now. But I just kind of do the one that they do here in Salt Lake City, and it's a lot of fun. Maybe one of these days, if I don't know, get the balls to just give it a shot and travel somewhere and try another one. But I'm afraid to just it's hard enough to make your table fee back and, yeah, again, justify the cost of a trip and the art supplies and all that type of stuff. I'd hate to show up and just end up in the hole and then just have it like a negative experience. I don't have that kind of money to waste, unfortunately. But like I said, my YouTube channel keeps growing. I'm at 1,060 subscribers in 6 months. And I keep saying it, but it blows my mind, guys. The table fee, I'm trying to remember exactly for the one here. I think I paid, it was somewhere between $250 and $300 for a single table. My brother, who goes with me, when I was going through my divorce, I had to stop going to conventions, so I stopped going for like 3 or 4 years. That's how long my marriage took to fail. But I stopped going to them because I was trying to focus on the marriage and making that last. But my brother kept going, and he built up his pinups and his art and his fan base, and he'll make $1,000 a convention. I want to punch him in his face because he does so damn good. But and he buys 2 tables now. He's like so used to it. He'll buy 2 tables. He'll spend, I don't know, $600 to get 2 tables to spread his stuff out. And so far, he's able to make that money back plus some. Like, you end up making a profit. So I'm kind of jealous of him, the son of a bitch. I mean, I've been drawing. You know, you're asking the question is, did I start drawing again recently, or um, I mean, I've drawn ever since I was a early teenager, and I kind of never stopped. But like I said, I mean, I'm not bringing it up just for sympathy or anything like that. But once my marriage kind of ended and I was on my own, the only thing I had in my life that I loved, that I had any control over, was my art. No one could take that from me. I lost my marriage, I lost my wife, I lost full time with my children. We had house and cars and everything was taken from me, and I was a sad, miserable shit. The only thing that I loved, that I still had any control over, is my art, and no one can take it from me. And so I just threw myself into it. I'd come home from work and I'd just come right to this room, sit at this table, and just draw until 3, 4 in the morning and just forget everything. And it kind of, I'm not going to say it saved my life. It wasn't like suicidal or anything like that, but it kept my sanity. And I think anybody who does artwork and it's a real passion for them, I think most people could relate to that. Artwork is what kept me going. And so I've never stopped, but I had moments where I'd focus more intensely on it or less, depending on what I was doing at the time. But it's my main focus outside of work and my kids. You know, I got a lot of free time. Yeah, it's relaxing to draw and write whatever you want. That's the thing. Being able to just do whatever the hell I want. This sounds stupid. This is a poor analogy. But starting this He-Man fan comic, it's something that I wanted to do. And I was for a long time doing work for some small press guys, drawing books or short stories for them. And it was a worthwhile thing. I networked a lot. I learned a lot. But I was always drawing someone else's stuff and drawing someone else's silly, ridiculous stories. And it was fun, but it wasn't as fulfilling. And when I started just doing my own goddamn fan comic, drawing the stories I wanted to, putting it in there the way I wanted to, with the character designs that I wanted to, and if I wanted to draw some titties in my book, I can draw some titties. If I want to draw exploding heads, I can do it. I feel like, in a way, and this is a terrible analogy, I feel like I was like one of the Image guys when they got off to go do their own books. I left behind the shit that was boring me, and I started doing shit that I loved, and I'm like, oh, this is where it's at. No one's going to ever see this except a few people who I show, but I felt like I won the comics art lottery when I just started doing shit that I wanted to do. Yeah, drawing in those late hours is where the magic happens. Dude, you are not kidding. Like, if I didn't have to I have to get up at 5 in the morning to be at work by 6, I would be up late every night. But on the weekends, my ass is sitting right here at this table till 3 in the morning. Music playing, or I'm chatting with somebody, and like it's kind of magical. It's like one of those things. I know I'll look back when I'm an old man. I'm going to be looking back at this time right here, right now, thinking about how much fun I was having doing this shit right here. Yeah, saying I quit playing video games and started drawing again. Yeah, I've never been much of a gamer. I play Grand Theft Auto online sometimes to get my ass blown away and handed to me, but I enjoy that a lot. And I played Red Dead Redemption like through the main story, and that. But that's it. I don't game at all, and I know that I can't, because I know there are some games out there I would get sucked into and I would never stop. And I don't allow myself. I don't let myself play video games because I know I'd get sucked in. And if I got free time, I want to be sitting here doing this because I'm creating something. I can go to somebody and say, hey, I've made some comics. Here, read them. I have a story. I made a thing. It's so gratifying to say, I made a thing. You know, my brother and I, we're going to print all 3 of these books up at some point into one big, thick, single book. Put like a foil cover on it, correct all the editing goof ups in there, and just have one big giant volume. Probably only print it up once, but it'll be a massive book. So excited for that. But just it's nice to have created something, right? Um, but yeah, yeah, my art is what kept me going. So I draw all the time, and I'm obviously better than I've ever been before, but I'm always like, God, I could be so much better. I see all these other artists out there. They're so much better than me. I'm like, God, how do these guys get to be so good? Yeah, man. You say here I'm an inspiration. That means the world to me. Like I can't be. Again, it's so weird to me to hear that I'm an inspiration to anybody. That means a lot. And I'd say someone was. I was having this conversation. I think in a comment section on one of my videos. Like the biggest thing is just start. Just start doing it. Sometimes the hardest part is starting, and just get over that hump. Just start doing it, man. Just start making it. And even if it's not your best work, just keep going. Just keep making it. Get it done. And it's probably better than you think it is. Um, but just keep going. And then even if you get done and it's not your best work, but it's still done, move on to the next one. And next thing you know, you got 3 or 4 books done and you're getting better every time. Chuck Lee asking, what kind of paper do I use? I go to my local Michael's Arts and Craft, or there's a local art store in my town called Hobby Lobby. They sell these, Master's Touch, Bristol board in the smooth, because I like to ink on that better. These things have 24 sheets, and for 19 bucks, that's pretty good. And I used to buy the stuff that had the pre-ruled, like the blue lines on them, like professional comic paper, but I got sick of that shit because I got sick of cleaning it up off the page. I just started getting this stuff that's 11 by 17, and it's just clear blank white paper. Like there's nothing on it. I'll just draw in my own borders and just go to town. And the same thing with these like Strathmore. It's the same thing basically. Bristol board, 20 sheets in the smooth finish. That's what I use. I did learn that I get a budget. I understand a budget is always a consideration, but getting cheap materials is your materials start fighting against you. You want to use good pencils, you want to use good brushes, good inks, so your art flows, because you don't want to be fighting your tools. I heard Adam Hughes say that on his instructional video. Art is hard enough to make, but if you're fighting your tools at the same time as you're fighting yourself to get your drawing out. So, I recommend finding, some art store that gets you brushes that you like, gets you pencils that work for you, good erasers. And I talked about this recently, but I got these Kohl Erase blue pencils. I ordered these from Amazon, like a whole pack of them for like 11 bucks. That's what this blue pencil is. It's my new favorite thing. I seem to have stuff flow out of me better drawn with the blue pencil for some damn reason. Can't explain why. Mechanical pencils, they bug me. So, but sharpening your pencil. So this is one of the greatest things I ever found was this thing right here. Because I like to use my pencils, but you can't do no damn thing when they're this small, right? But this thing, you could slip the pencil into it, and now you've always got like a substantial thing to hold in your hand, and you can burn your pencil down to a little tiny nub and still use it to its maximum effect. And then, I'll even do the same thing when, let me see. I'll still even do it when I have like a regular pencil. I'll still put this on, and it becomes like a giant, huge ass long thing. This is what I was using on my first videos to point at, and people were like, stop pointing at your comics with that lead. You're going to draw on your comics. And I actually switched out to something else. But this thing to hold your pencil lead is my favorite thing. And then, Chuck Lee, these blue pencils. When I ink, like what I was inking this with, I've got one of these brush pens, but I don't use it that often because I don't have any more refills on it. And so I try to save it. It's nice to have just a pen that's always got ink on. As long as it has a nice sharp tip, you can use it really well to great effect. But I honestly I buy these packs of these cheap brushes. And I mean, this set is like $5 for these cheap brushes, and all these brushes in these various sizes, they hold a nice sharp point for a decent amount of time. And I'll ink with those or the traditional Hunt 102, which is a tricky thing to learn to use, but it's worth it. And again, I like the hand drawn feel of everything. So the Hunt 102 and brushes, and then occasionally the brush pen. And then of course I always have a set of the microns or the pit pens and white gel rollers to do highlights and corrections. Yeah, the 05 and 03 pencil and a blue pencil. Yeah, the blue pencil's my jam these days. And brush pens, I don't know. I know a lot of professional artists have moved on to these brush pens, and they're great. I think the only one of the struggles with this is that when you erase, it can pull the ink off the page a little bit. That's one of the things I have to give it to the Hunt 102. When you throw down a line with this thing, it like grinds it into the paper, and when you erase over, it does not come off. It is like ground in there permanently. So that's one nice thing. So I'll do a lot of cross hatching and line work with this thing, and then fill it in with a brush or something like that. And when you use a nice good ink, often enough, it's not getting pulled out when you erase over it. But these pens, these things, you ink with these and you erase over it, that it pulls them off. It pulls the ink off in a big way, and that's frustrating because then you're going back over it. But this ink right here, Dr. Phil Martin's Black Star in the matte. Man, I watched inker Jonathan Galapian mention he used this. I went and found it, and this, I will never use anything else. That's my ink right there. That's the best. You know, speaking of dry brush, it's funny because I like to hear the cartoonist kayfabe guys, especially I hear Ed Piskor mention this. He's like, even if you got a brush and it's dead, don't throw it away. You can get all kinds of textures. I got this fucking just container just full of brushes. Some are dead from their original use, and they're forked and splintered and shit. And I've just kind of collected these things. I'm like, I don't need this damn many. But I use this guy often. This one for dry brush effect. Or this one right here. In fact, I used it today. Dip it in some ink, and then that wide kind of flat brush, you can get some dry brush effect, which I did right there. I was doing this earlier. That was fun. And I just did it with this shit. But I got piles of brushes that I don't need that much, but I can't throw them away. I'm like, you never know. Yeah, the light box thing. The blue pencil, I don't know what it is. Why does it flow out of me so much better with this blue pencil? I don't know what it is. And then the light box, yeah. That's where all that nice effect, you can have scribbly ass artwork, and then you do the light box and get a nice clean version of your work. Trying to see if this, yeah, I don't know how well this is gonna come up. Let me back this thing up. This is the drawing I did after Endgame came out. I thought that everyone would be interested in a Thanos drawing. Not one person bought a single copy. Yeah, the blue pencil is so damn smooth. That's why. Seriously. Yeah, like this drawing right here, I did this in blue pencil, and then I did a light box over to get this clean as I could do for a final drawing. Because I had connected with a very small press publisher that had gotten the rights to publish Highlander comics. And they hired me to do the covers because their interior artist was a fucking train wreck of shit. And so I just started pumping stuff out. I did this as like just a random drawing, and one of my buddies colored this up, and he made, like, I thought I kind of did okay there. I thought that looked all right, but then my guy that colored that, he added the lightning. I'm like, oh my God, that's my favorite thing ever, and it's because of the coloring. But this was the cover that I drew for the Highlander book that never saw the light of day because the independent publishing house fucked it up. But yeah, I did a blue pencil, smooth blue pencil, just like you're saying, Chuck Lee. And then I did a light box to do this final drawing, and then had it colored up. And of course, it never went anywhere. So nuts for me. And then there was a contest that the little small press publisher for the Highlander was doing, where like, if you entered the contest, they had me draw the guy, the person, the fan, fighting the Highlander character for a cover. Again, never saw the light of day, but I had a lot of fun with this one, drawing the guy reaching, his hand coming close, and having this sword up close. Count Chocula, he's asking, so how much does it cost me to print that single issue of the Masters book? I'm trying to remember. They're all a little bit different in that they're a different page count, but like my most recent one, which is, again, this is the misprinted one, but 128 pages. I think this is the most pages with tax. $180, I think. It was less than 200, but I only print up 25 copies at a time, because I don't sell them that quickly. So, you know, I don't get them and I don't blow out of them suddenly. I've had to reprint the other issues 1 through 3 at least twice, maybe 3 times, but I only do them in 25 issue batches. So that's how much that costs. Basically $10 or less per book as far as cost. Yeah, no, I print up a stack of 25. So I've got a pile of them because I've got a few fans, and whenever I get them, I need to, you know, send out several at a time, and then I'll print more as I go. Yeah, man, no problem. It's another image I did, thinking that the Marvel hype and the Endgame thing, so Child, Gamora, and Thanos, where she's saying, what did it cost? And he says, everything. Like, I thought this was an interesting idea, and I kind of like my scratchy artwork that I did. Didn't sell a single print. Not one. Not one person wanted this shit. You never know what people are interested in. Yeah, Count Chocula, dude. I mean, I got copies I can get to people. This was the bad guy that was supposed to be for that Highlander book. I just was pumping out artwork, and every time I created a new drawing, they're like, oh my God, that's great. Thank you. Can we use it as a cover? Yeah, unfortunately, it was never going to go anywhere. So... these are my own silly characters that I redesigned in a more modern context. This is another one of those small press things. It was these guys that do Canadian comics, and they had a guy wearing a red outfit with a giant maple leaf strapped to his back. And I can't begin to tell you how much I kept trying to tell him it looks stupid, and they wouldn't listen. He's like, no, but it's iconic. I'm like, no, it's stupid. So I did the best that I could do to make him look awesome, even though he's got a red outfit and like a white mask and a giant maple leaf strapped to his back. You're getting back into drawing comics, and what do I practice? What do I suggest? I don't know, dude. Anything that you sit down and makes you interested, and I say this kind of knowing it probably sounds kind of, I don't know, kind of childish. I'm looking for an example over here. When I want to draw, and I don't know what to do, but I want to draw something that interests me. This is where it's dumb. I'll draw a naked girl. I'm sorry. I know that's stupid, but I'm a dude. I appreciate women, but it's flowing curves. It's kind of easy. It's not complicated like a giant mecha or something like that, but I'll do curves and lines. And it's something I'm interested in, and I can sit down, I can just start drawing. So so that's something that I do when I need to just get going and drawing. And so I'll do things like that. And then sometimes you just got to be inspired to sit down and just, I don't know, draw. What's a character that you love? Just sit down and just start drawing. Lamac, yeah, that's what you, right? Like, I know it's kind of childish. It's like, oh, I'm a guy and I draw comics and I draw naked girls. That's not all I do, but it's a lot of what I do because I'm a dude and I like girls and, kiss my ass. I want to draw hot girls, right? So that's what I want to do. I don't know. It's just like find something that interests you. The documentary about Dave Stevens, I haven't. I'm heard of it. Somebody was telling me about it. It might even been you, Count Chocula, but I'm aware of it, but I've never seen it. But I keep meaning to. I just forget. For anybody that's been reading my He-Man comics, after I do book 6 in the next year, I'm going to finish my book and I'll have 6 volumes and it's going to be done. But I'm going to spin them off. They're going to go through their own version of the X-Men Siege Perilous and be dumped into another universe, redesigned with new names. This is my first attempt to do them. That's She-Ra, Jitsu, Trapjaw, and Strongarm. And that's He-Man and Sorceress Tila. I'm not sure about the designs here, but that's my plan. I'm going to spin these off into my own. They're obviously homages to the He-Man characters that might be called Masters of Eternity. Maybe. I don't know. But I'm going to keep going with that. But these are my own designs for the characters so I could keep going with them. Speaking of what do I like to draw, there you go. This is one of my favorite drawings. I thought the line work came out really pretty good. It's one of the cleanest things I've ever done. This is a decade old. I did this 10 years ago. And then the guy that I hired to do the coloring, I think he just nailed it. That one was fun. I mean, again, naked girl in a Bacta tube. Is that what they call them on Star Wars? Getting the shadows was fun to try to nail that. I tried to do as clean of pencils as I could do, and that was the best I could do. I don't like doing clean pencils. Thanks, Lamac. That mermaid one. I try to sell these at the Comic-Con. I have little Post-it notes, and I'll put them over the boobies so I know I'm not offending the children. And everyone's like, that's the Little Mermaid. I'm like, it's not the Little Mermaid. Just because it's a mermaid with red hair. And then this girl's not Ursula. It's not a big, fat, purple girl, but she's like an octopus tentacle girl. But I don't know. You know what I liked is like the colorist. Like I made the tail like a solid tail, but the colorist on his own, he made it translucent and like colored in the leg. And I was like, oh shit, man. That's awesome. I like this. So the colorist really brought it. Talking about that one. Yeah. Man, Frank Miller on his early Sin Cities, not his weird, jagged, crusty old artwork that he does these days, but his Sin City stuff, the heavy shadowed stuff. Yeah, that inspired me a lot, especially a Dame to Kill For. That stuff was like outstanding. It's just me doing Copic markers like Adam Hughes would do. They're really fun, but the problem is when you try to scan them, these are the originals, you scan them and these subtle tones in the Copic markers just vanish in the scan. I don't know how people make them work. This is more for that Highlander series I was talking about. Oh, yeah. Back in the day on digital webbing, there was an X-Men group project, and this was like a cover, so to speak, for it. This is old, 2015. I was really trying. Some things I think kind of worked. I kind of like Cable the most. I was trying to like throw as much gear on him as I could do, like throw all the detail in there that I could possibly make and put him in Liefeld's original design, because Liefeld's original design, I got to give it to him, looked awesome. And then I'm just ripping off Mark Silvestri fire design in the background. It was fun to do. I just steal from everybody. And then this was like a companion piece to it. And I didn't quite nail this quite the same. It's not quite as good. I mean, I don't know if it's good at all, but... But yeah, if anyone's like, what do you do? Just sit down and just start drawing something that interests you. You know, if you're trying to figure out how to get motivated, get started. Like I was saying, just start drawing. Just go, you know. Don't think about it. Just start creating the pages. Just start making things. And I think you'll be surprised at how well it starts coming out once you just get going. Everybody steals from everybody. Yeah, this is like a Rob Liefeld homage, if you guys remember that at all. I actually don't have a website, and I should. I have a friend of mine that keeps telling me I should get an Etsy page so she could buy my artwork from me, and I just never think about doing it because I'm stupid. I mean, I sell stuff at conventions, and if anybody catches me and online and wants to commission me or buy something, I'll do it. But no, I don't have a website, and I'm stupid. Yeah, Frank Langella. Dude, somebody's asking me what I thought about the old He-Man movie. Like, it's terrible, but it's also kind of awesome. It has moments, and Frank Langella was like, he's worth for the price of admission alone. And you're right, Gloria and Evangeline. Yeah, I have this book somewhere. And again, I was trying to like do what Liefeld does, but put my own artistic spin on it. Rob Liefeld liked my picture of this on Instagram when I put it up a couple years ago. Dude, Count Chocula, you saw in the theater, man. I was just a few years too young to go on my own, and my parents were never going to take me to that. But I missed it. But man, I wish I kind of could have. You know, I don't know if my brother has a website either to help me set up. I don't think he does. We're both stupid. Yeah, what year is that, Chocula? You must be, I'm sure, you must be a couple years older than me, because I graduated high school in 95. Yeah, waists are too big for Liefeld. Yeah, I know. That's what I eliminated. It was like the ridiculous hyper curves. I was trying to make them look hot, but... Yeah, I saw the Transformers 87. Oh, 87, dude. Yeah, man, you were like right there at a peak awesome universe time. 87, I was 10 years old. I saw the Transformers animated movie in the theater, and that was one of my favorite memories in my history of ever. Deep Space Nine is the best Star Trek series ever. Fight me. Next Generation is a close second. You know what keeps me alive at my conventions? I've talked about is those gargoyle drawings and the Star Trek drawings. The Star Trek nerd community, they like this shit. Orson Welles, yeah, man, Unicron, how he just thought it was just like a dumb toy commercial, and it was the last thing he ever did, right? But, man, he made that work. I've always struggled with the turtles, and I love them. I can never get them quite right. This was me doing inks over Joe Mad, and I focused and did the absolute best that I could do. This is one of the first things that I did when I was divorced and moved out on my own, is I did inking on this. I can just tell by the date. I think I did okay. I love inking. I'm not great, but I was trying to make Joe Mad's work shine, and I think it's the best I could do at the time. You know, I know Trent Kaniga. I don't know how to say that last name. I'm aware of him. What was that book that he did? Creed. I never saw it on the shelves, but I was aware of him. Young guy, right? Wasn't he like 17 when he got his book published? Creed. Yeah, there you go. Um, I seem to remember him being a very young dude. Yeah, Glory. But Glory, we want to be busty. We want her to be, healthy, right? Captain America looked like he had like cancer. What else do I have in here? Yeah, nothing else in this one. This book is a lot of stuff that I had in this one. Hey man, Wiley J Draws, thank you, man. I think I'm definitely going to be doing more streams on YouTube. This has been a lot more interactive than the Instagram ones. Power Comics. You know what? I wrote it down. I'm going to look it up for sure. Thanks, man. But this is a bunch of stuff that I was trying to sell at conventions. Artwork that I did on my own or stuff that I just drew and was trying to sell. Found this reference online from some girl who's dressed as Wonder Woman. This is a girl that I know, and she likes to put up pictures of herself on her Instagram. And she's way prettier than my drawings make her look. And then you could see all these little, my inking nib, it caught and spit the ink all over. So, I mean, I don't care, but. This was fun to get this extreme angle and the heavy shadows. That was a fun one. Let's see. This is why I don't do color. I can't. It just looks like ass. That's terrible. But I'll do the black and white, heavy shadows, and naked girls, right? I mean, it's a theme. But yeah, this is my list. This is my book that I have out there at the conventions to try and sell some original artwork. And very rarely does any of these sell. Yeah, what I make money on is the Gargoyles prints, the Star Trek prints, and doing commissions where people walk up and ask me to draw things for them. And 3 years in a row, I've had the same old creepy dude show up with a binder full of like printed out Japanese schoolgirls and asking me to draw them as like mermaids in bondage. And the girl that sits with me, she's like skeeved out by him. She's like, oh my God, here comes that guy that wants you to draw like mermaids in bondage all the time. And he has all this reference that he's printed out of like Japanese schoolgirls. He's like, yeah, but I want her tied up in like a fishnet and I want a tail and like a schoolgirl shirt on that's like opened up and like on a bed. I'm like, oh my God, you're paying $100. And he's like, sold. I'm like, fuck. All right, dude. I mean, I'm not going to say I'll draw anything for the right price, but I'll draw that for $100. So that's where I make my money at the conventions is the commissions, the Gargoyles prints, and the Star Trek prints. I'm like, you know what's fucked up? My brother was sitting next to a girl at the last convention. One dude asked me to, just a real quick, Chuck Lee, one person asked me to do a Star Trek commission, and that was so hard getting likenesses. I can't draw very well at a table at a convention. Like if I'm not at my drawing table, it's at an angle with all my tools, my shit looks terrible. I'm not a good like spontaneous sketcher. I'm not good. But I was just gonna say my brother, last convention, he had his table like 2 rows over, and he comes over, he's like, there's this super hot girl sitting next to me. She draws anime stuff. Her dad is sitting there with her, which is weird, but she has a sign out front that says, I will draw anything for commissions. Anything, underlined anything. So my brother asked her, is like, what kind of shit do people ask you to draw? And she's like, I had a guy just today come up and ask me if I do a drawing of him fucking me. And she's like, sure, $200, and he paid. So she drew a picture of herself fucking this guy. And her dad's right there with her. It was really weird, but she knows her audience. And she was really cute too, so it works. People are whacked out. Dude, right? Shakila, you are not kidding. That he had the balls to walk up and ask that. I would never, ever in a million years, you put a gun to my head, like go ask that girl to do a drawing of her fucking you. No, shoot me. You know, I'd be like, hey, draw me, I don't know, draw me Witchblade, make her topless. I'd feel kind of ashamed at that, but I'd ask that. Yeah, I wasn't there, but my brother was just like her dad's right there and he just watches and this girl makes a lot of money. Like, I mean, it's kind of like the OnlyFans, you know, hot girl gets online, she can, you know, sell hot stuff and dudes are gonna pay. It's kind of the same thing. She's a cute girl and she'll draw any damn thing. So, but yeah, asking that with the father in place. Anybody recognize that? Anybody read that Deadpool Bad Blood, where Liefeld drew Deadpool on a horse? You know what? I've got it right here. For those of you who haven't seen it, and I'm not trying to shit on Liefeld because I do it plenty, but the instant that Liefeld draws him on a horse, is that a horse? I showed this to a friend of mine and she's like, it's a dinosaur or a lizard or something. That is not a horse. And so I'm like, I gotta try and redraw that. OnlyFans Art Edition. Lemac, do I rent or how does that work at a convention? Basically, you buy a table. Conventions will put it out there, like for Artist Alley, they're taking submissions. And so you have to apply. I'm nobody, but as long as I got it in there soon enough, and then I paid, I think it was somewhere between 250 and 300 bucks for the table for 3 days. And that's how I get the table. And then the goal is to make your money back for your table fee, and then anything else is like, now you're making profit. But yeah, I'm not saying mine is better. I don't think the Deadpool is any better, but I think the horse is better. I mean, because I actually looked at a horse. But that thing is, as soon as my brother just had eye surgery, but as soon as he's better, we're planning on getting together, getting drunk, and doing a review of this book right here. It's been in the process. We've been talking about it for months. We're going to get fucked up and do a video talking about this book right here. And it's either going to be the greatest thing I've ever done or the stupidest thing I've ever done. But we're going to be drunk and talk about a Liefeld book. Yeah. I actually can't wait to do that. But yeah, I love drawing this horse. I kind of wish I could just get rid of Deadpool and just keep the... I mean, I could white it out and just finish over it or just draw a new one. And I thought I was clever when I did this one. I mean, I don't know. I think the idea is okay, but I don't know. I didn't do the execution of it very well. Deadpool in the classic McFarlane pose, but he's flipping the bird. I don't know. Liefeld's horse is his butt. Oh, dude, you are so right. Liefeld's horse is his bust, is his cap. I thought this one was funny. There's a meme out there with Liefeld's face saying a sword is better with a gun on it. So I had Deadpool holding a gun with a sword on it. He's saying, fuck yeah, it is. I thought that was funny to me. I've sold a couple prints of that. There's a couple of people like that. And then I did this one where got Deadpool flipping off the Green Lantern. And Liefeld did this. He took this exact image of Ryan Reynolds as you know, Deadpool and did a photo trace pencil drawing of it. So I did the same thing just to see what I could come up with. So it's Ryan after Rob. Ryan by Rob after Rob is what I signed that as. But yeah, a pistol blade, right? I'm sure other people will come up with better versions of that. But like, you take a gun and it's got a sword connected right to the top of it. Oh, good times, right, guys? Anyway, I guess I should probably get going. I do have to have my ass to work in a couple hours. Um, this has been a lot of fun, guys. I've had way more interaction on this on YouTube than like I do on my Instagram. So I might need to be doing these more here and more drawing videos and stuff like that. Yeah, I know of some anime with a sword with a, yeah, there you go. The gun blade. That's right. I know I've seen something like that somewhere. But yeah. But yeah, guys, I guess I should wrap this up. It's been a lot of fun, guys. Thank you for chiming in. Thanks for talking. The conversation back and forth. A lot of fun. I appreciate it so much. It's still weird to me that I have anybody that wants to listen to my stuff, look at my artwork, anything like that. It's awesome. I appreciate all of you guys. Yeah, it means a lot, you know. So thank you all of you. Oh, for drawing along too, Mr. Ultra. That's awesome, guys. Appreciate it so much. I'll definitely be doing this more. It's nice to get some interaction. Like I said, over on Instagram, nobody watches, and that, you know, whatever. But it's kind of fun to have some interaction here. So that's all. I'll catch you all later, and thank you.